a week and a half, but we have water. We should be okay. So we like to call Boston the city of three F's: freedom first and fun. Freedom. The American Revolution started here. Abolitionist movement started here. For first, we had the first public school, first university, first telephone call, first jelly bean factory. Does anybody like chocolate? No, you don't. First chocolate factory in the United States. Hopefully nobody has any chocolate on them right now. That'd be messy. I'm actually more of a Swedish fish kind of guy. Not the candy, I mean fish from Sweden. They are delicious. Oh yeah, first Dunkin' Donuts. We're going to buy 36 of those on tour today. Now they're taking over the world, one corner at a time. And it's a fun city, so we're going to be pointing out fun stuff to do as we go along. More importantly, we're going to be doing something that's a whole lot of fun. I'm talking about quacking, of course. We're on a duck, right? So every once in a while I'm going to say chowder. Whenever I say chowder, I'm going to need you all to say quack, quack, but say it with some heart. Do you think you can do that? All right, let's give it a go. Ready? 1, 2, 3, chowder. Oh my goodness, much better than that last group. We'll eventually be going past other ducks. I expect to win every single engagement. Julia's bonus depends on it. Let's try it again. 1, 2, 3, chowder. Oh my God, this is going to be a fun one, Julia. Let's talk some history, shall we? All right. Boston wasn't always Boston. It used to be called Shawmut Peninsula up until 1630. Shawmut loosely translates to mean living waters because there used to be 3 hills on Shawmut Peninsula. You get 3 hills, you get rivers and streams, fresh water, living waters. Only one of those hills still remains. That's called Beacon Hill. We'll be driving up that later. They leveled the other 2 hills entirely for landfill purposes. So if I say landfill today, I mean dirt and gravel, I don't mean trash. About 3,000 acres of filled in land in and around the city of Boston. So, you know, it looks nothing like it would in the 1600s. 1625, a guy by the name of William Blackstone. He moved to Shawmut Peninsula. He lived here all by himself for a few years. And then there's a group of Puritans. They were living in Charlestown, Massachusetts. They weren't getting adequate water, so they came over here, bought some land from William Blackstone, 150 of them for $150. That's a great deal. Rent is a lot higher these days. These people came originally from Boston, England, so they a lot of originality on the part of the Puritans. Renamed it Boston after their hometown, 1630, so that's when Boston was established. 1630. Puritans came here for religious tolerance, economic opportunity, sometimes for both. But folks, Puritans, tough people. Town gallows, whipping posts, stockades, hanging trees, branding, all would have been common here in puritanical New England. I mentioned landfill. We picked you up a long wharf. That was the longest wharf in the United States back then. And it used to go all the way up to Kilby Street, which is right here. So this would have been water up until about Kilby Street, give or take. I mentioned the Boston Massacre. How many people killed in the Boston Massacre? I just gave you a hint. 5, yes, very good. Yeah, 5 people killed. Close 3. Last guy gets 125. Yeah, 5 people killed in the Boston Massacre. We call it the massacre. British referred to this as the incident on King Street. About 100 colonists or more, they're throwing ice balls and rocks at 9 British troops, and the British fire back in self-defense, so we call it the massacre. All the British were actually let go. John Adams, he was a lawyer in 1770. He went on to become our 2nd president. He actually defended the British in court and got them all the equivalent of acquitted. He said that was one of his proudest moments of being an American. He said everybody has a right to a fair trial. So 2 British were branded on their thumbs for M, meaning manslaughter. That way if you raise your right hand in court, they can see you've had prior convictions. So before the days of DNA, fingerprints, or photography, brand a criminal. It happened to our right, the Boston Massacre. You see a red brick building with a giant, with a golden lion in the top left and a silver unicorn in the top right. So the old State House. This is the seat of the British government. If you Google Boston Massacre, this is the building in the background of that famous painting. They'll read the Declaration of Independence in that balcony every July 4th. First time it was read there is on July 18, 1776. It took a while for the news to get up here from Philadelphia. Depending on the season, it was actually easier to get to England from here than to get to Philadelphia. Yeah, so 1 month to get to England from Boston, 3 months back. Like I mentioned before, it's like the short way and the long way, all because of the currents. I mentioned Philadelphia. You drive into Philadelphia and swear a guy named Benjamin Franklin is from there. There's statues of him everywhere. Statues of Rocky. Neither of them are even from there. is where Ben Franklin and his brother James had one of New England's very first newspapers called the New England Current. One of 17 children born here in Boston. You heard me right, 17 children. Don't mess with his mother, Mrs. Franklin. She will mess you up. She lived to be 82 years old, Mrs. Franklin. Tough old lady. And then at the age of 17, that's when Ben Franklin moved to Philadelphia, West Philadelphia. Not born and raised. This is called a pictograph up here on the right. This golden tea kettle has been in the city since the 1800s. The Starbucks is not. You see that? You know what they sell. Behind it, the ugliest building in America. There you go, City Hall. Look, don't look, it doesn't matter. Ugliest building in America. Fourth ugliest on planet Earth. It's called brutalism style architecture. So it could be a pictograph, it could be a giant boot, places by boots, giant hat, places by hats. Oldest European burial ground in the city of Boston coming up on our left here. It's called the King's Chapel Burial Ground. This dates back to 1630. Same year Boston was established. Paul Revere made bells and cannons. As big as bells in the belfry of the King's Chapel. Omni Pargos, oldest continuous running hotel in the United States. That's where they invented Barker House rolls and Boston cream pies. Ho Chi Minh of Vietnam was a baker there. Malcolm X was a busboy. Emeril Lagasse worked there. Charles Dickens, Ulysses S. Grant, John Wilkes Booth, they've all stayed there. To our left, the first integrated church in the United States. Tremont Temple Baptist Church. And a treat for the kids, it's another burial ground. Look to your right, this is Samuel Adams, the green one. They're sitting in front of Sam Adams' grave. All the victims of the Boston Massacre buried right next to him, including Patrick Carr. On his deathbed, he actually said, "This was our fault, we deserve this." Ben Franklin's parents are buried in the middle. Paul Revere is buried in the way back. Yeah, so Sam Adams to the right. Beantown Pub to the left. Only place on earth you can drink a cold Sam Adams while looking at a cold Sam Adams. Julia wrote that one. All letters. Julia wrote that one. John Hancock is buried in here. Tall one in the back. First man to sign the Declaration of Independence, John Hancock. Legend is he signed it the way he did so the king could read it. He wanted to be the general, John Hancock. John Adams had other ideas. He went behind his back in the Second Continental Congress, helped nominate George Washington to be the general, and Hancock never forgave John Adams. So the three signers who are buried here, John Hancock, Samuel Adams, Robert Tree Payne, we call him T-Pain. James Otis is also buried here, not as well known of a name, but probably the most famous quote of the Revolutionary era. He said, "Taxation without representation is tyranny." 1765. That's 10 years before actual fighting began, so things were building up here for a while before fighting occurred. Park Street Church, 1809, the song America sung from these steps for the very first time. Not the Neil Diamond one, My Country 'Tis of Thee. Still pretty cool. Look up the hill, you can see the gold dome of our new State House. It's real gold. 13 pounds, 23 karat gold leaf. We go past this again later. That's free to go on the new State House. Their Freedom Trail. It's going to be a red line that goes up this next little street here. Just follow the red line, takes you all 16 places. It's 2.7 miles. Kids love it. It's walking, it's history, do their favorite things. You have to drag them off eventually. It starts right here, Freedom Trail. This is the Embrace Memorial over there to the right. Martin Luther King met his wife Coretta Scott King at Boston University. He went on to win the Nobel Peace Prize. There's a famous photograph of the two of them embracing. And homage to that. You get like Shakespeare in the Park, free ballets, yoga classes, softball. Pretty much everything the Puritans would have liked goes on in the Boston Common these days. First public park in the United States, Boston Common, the right of the common man to graze their cattle. So used for feeding livestock, also used for hanging witches, criminals, Quakers in the 1600s. Last lady accused of being a witch and hanged before it was named Goody Glover. This is 1688. And then 4 years later, that's when the Salem witch trials ensued. In 1692, all within 1 year, it was over. 19 women were hanged, and 1 man was pressed to death. So a similar mindset, people living up north in Salem as the people living here in Boston. On a lighter note, Guy Fieri's got a couple restaurants in town. Like the celebrity chefs. Gordon Ramsay's got a couple. Gordon Ramsay, he's from England. Guy Fieri, Flavor Town. I'm just reading his shirt. A lot of our founding fathers were Freemasons. So on the corner, it's the oldest Masonic lodge in the United States. It's the third oldest in the world. Paul Revere, Ben Franklin, George Washington, all Freemasons. A lot of British generals are also Freemasons. If you do the secret handshake during the Revolutionary War, that might get you getting in big trouble. You consider to be a brother. So, oldest Masonic lodge in the U.S. To our right is all Emerson College. They own all these buildings. This one school has 3 theaters. 2 of the 3 theaters are on the National Register. Here's one of them, the Cutler. They're like Bill Burr, Louis C.K., Stephen Reich, Jay Leno, Henry Winkler, Dennis Leary, Stifler's mom, some of the alumni from Emerson, Jennifer Coolidge. And so 5 or 6 top-notch theaters, 900 seaters all the way up to 3,700 seater. Marlon Brando, he performed that red brick building there. He did a Streetcar Named Desire out of the Wilbur. If you're looking to do anything in the city at all, meetboston.com, excellent local website, meetboston.com, restaurants, breweries, sporting events. You got Blue Man Group at the end of Warren Street, never seen that. Look at a Blue Man Group, that would be fun for the whole family. Comedy, juggling, music. This is one of the first law schools in the United States to our left that allowed women to practice law, New England law. That was called Portia Law School in 1908. Named after the lead character in The Merchant of Venice, a Bill Shakespeare play. I call him Bill. We're tight. Sure, if you can. Yeah, so John Harvard, he's from the town called Stratford-on-Avon, that same town William Shakespeare's from. And Harvard immigrated here in the 1630s to Charlestown, Massachusetts. He donated sterling silver and about 300 books to Newtown College, and they renamed it Harvard in his honor in 1638. So that's the oldest college in the country, been here since 1636. Harvard is already about 140 years old when the Revolutionary War began. To go there in the 1600s, you used to have to speak Latin, Hebrew, and Greek. And they used to make you speak Latin at all times in the dorm rooms at Harvard, up until the 1700s. So yeah, Puritans, tough people, but they were highly educated. They made it law that children had to learn how to read and write. The boys used to have to go to school 11 hours a day, 6 days a week here in the 1600s. They didn't have summer vacations or Christmas vacations. They'd get Sundays off. They get to go to church for 6 to 8 hours a day. Ain't no party like a Puritan party. So you could do anything on Sundays. You couldn't even work in the your own homes, the fields of your own house. So you'd have to prepare food beforehand. Something simple like beans would suffice. No Uber Eats back then. You could put the beans above the fireplace, have something quick and easy to eat when you get back from church. So you'd have hundreds of people cooking beans at the same time. Boston was a major port city, so you have sailors from all over the world coming in and out of Boston Harbor. They could smell the beans in the air. So they've been calling it Beantown ever since. So we get a grid system in the back bay. This is all man-made. All water in the 1700s right here. They call this the back bay because it's used to be the bay. It took 40 years just to fill in the back bay. Started in 1860, they had 2 sets of trains coming into Boston. 6 days a week, 24 hours a day, dropping off dirt and gravel for 40 solid years. Got the landfill from the surrounding towns, notably Needham Heights and Newton Heights. Leveling the heights from both towns. Now let's refer to those towns as Needham and Newton. So there's a grid system in the back bay. Rather than number, it's alphabetized. So New York, it's 1st, 2nd, 3rd Street. Here it goes A, B, C. It starts off on Arlington Street, then it goes Berkeley, Clarendon, Dartmouth, Exeter, Fairfield, Gloucester, Hereford, Ipswich, Jersey, Kilmarnock, Lansdowne, where the Red Sox play, making a push. Anybody going to Fenway Park when you're in town? Take a tour of Fenway Park, even if you like baseball a little bit. They give great tours there every hour on the hour. Highly recommend it. If you just want to see the field, you can walk in off the street. It's called the Bleacher Bar, great restaurant. It's the old batting cage turned into a restaurant. So Bleacher Bar, if you're near Fenway Park, you can see basically the entire field from there, dead center field. All right, we're going to have a good photo opportunity coming up on our left. It's going to be the tallest building in all of New England. If you get your cameras ready, you can point them directly to our left. And it's going to be a 3-for-1. Us off the tallest building in New England. So point your cameras more to our left, like you're taking a picture about something. Okay, yours is in a good position right there. Hold on, not yet, not yet. Keep it pointed. It's going to be us. Ready? Look for us on this building here. Ready? 1, 2, 3, chowder. Look to your left. There we are. That's us. It's my natural smile. It scares people. And don't worry, you didn't miss anything. This is on the list of 10 most significant buildings in the country. When we make a right turn, you're going to get a good photo opportunity of what is called the Trinity Church, 1877. List of 10 most significant buildings in the U.S. Designed by Henry Hobson Richardson. He was so good at his job, he had a style named after him called Richardsonian Romanesque. This building here, 4,502 pilings below the surface. Pilings are like 9 to 12 foot long electrical poles, short electrical poles, if you will. Most of the original buildings in the Back Bay have pilings from the 1800s. So they brought the land in, they let it settle. Then they needed to shore up the foundation, so they came with steam power pile drivers. They'd hammer the pilings into the ground. So they had little forests and hills to create the Back Bay. There's the Boston Public Library, maybe my favorite building in the city. Second largest library system in the United States. Murals from John Singer Sargent on the 3rd floor. It's beautiful. It's anything you see in Europe. Courtyards in there, yoga classes. They even got a bar. So to our right, Trinity Church. Boston Public Library. This area is called Copley Square. So go in both these buildings. This is open. They're just doing the landscaping here. $7 to go in there. Old South Church, another beauty coming up. 1875. Paul Revere and Sam Adams were members of the original congregation, which is located about a mile from here. Boston Marathon finish line. We're on Boylston Street, about a half a block to our left. Any marathon runners on board? Just me? A long time ago I ran the Boston Marathon. Did it in around 3 seconds. I ran the width. Pulled a hammy. Took me a day to recover. 1896, 15 men ran the very first Boston Marathon. Now every April, over 30,000 people come here to run in it. All marathons are difficult, but Boston Marathon, you're going up and down hills for 26 miles. 19 miles in, one of the hills nicknamed Heartbreak Hill. A lot of people can't keep going after that point. It's too much for them. Statue of Phyllis Brooks against the wall over there. Here's the minister. Phyllis wrote the Christmas carol, "O Little Town of Bethlehem," which is like the free bird of Christmas carols. It really rocks. It's a real banger. Little school by the name of MIT started in Boston in 1861. Different building, but this is the location where it all began. Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT. Different building, this is the location where it started. This next building is what MIT looked like, though. Very similar architecture. That's a Restoration Hardware store, but that's a very similar architecture. This was a Museum of Natural History in 1866. It outgrew the building. They moved to Cambridge. We'll be going by a Museum of Science a little bit later. All that stuff is now located. Yeah, tuition at MIT in 1861, $100 for the entire year. Now, it's at least double that. I don't really know. I haven't looked. You like shiny things? Next street over is called Newbury Street. That's the most foot traffic street in the city. That's where you find your Armani, Versace, Chanel, Rolex, TJ Maxx, whatever you guys want. Good people watching, great restaurants. So check out Newbury Street, even if you're not that into shopping. Beautiful street. You can see the Church of the Covenant. So a lot of French-style architecture in the Back Bay. They had French architects come here do the designing in the 1860s. So the Tiffany glass windows on that church. And it's made out of Roxbury pudding stone. That stone can only be found in 2 places on Earth: Roxbury pudding stone here and in Morocco. Because at one point we were actually attached to Morocco. There used to be a supercontinent. Any of you kids remember the name of the old supercontinent? Pangea. That's right. You know it. And then Boston, Morocco broke up. It was very sad. You and a box of munchkins from Dunkin' Donuts are 4 days old. Julia's locker. Talked to her after the tour. Dip them in coffee as good as new. Yeah, so these are Tiffany glass windows as well. This is the first church built in the Back Bay in 1861, Arlington Street Church. Doesn't do it justice on the outside, but these windows, you go inside, you'll be blown away looking out on a sunny day. The windows are going for $8,000 a piece when they first started putting them in, installing them, and you can only get one window every few years. They finally finished in 1920. At that point, they were going for $15,000 a piece in 1920. pilings underneath this one. People often ask me, what kind of trees did they use for all the pilings in the back bay? The answer, spruce trees. So this church here, 999 pilings, but a birch ain't one. If you didn't get that joke, I feel bad for you, son. Boston, I'm never going to explain that joke to you. Not on tour anyway. Did you call me a jerk? That's it. I'm going to have my daddy fire you. No, I'm just kidding. It's our dad's company. Boston Public Garden to our left. All the trees in here have markers or plates on them indicating what type of trees they are. You get trees from all over the world. Anything that can survive in this strange climate. Swan boats off in the distance, if you can make them out off in the distance there. I think they're done because the 4:30 they stop actually. Wooden cart paddle boats, swan boats, been in the city since 1877. Owned and operated by the same family since then, the Paget family. They get them up to about 2 miles an hour. When we get in the Charles River, we're going to triple that, so hold on to your hats. We have a need for speed at Boston Duck Tours. That's why I call Julia Maverick. My call sign is Iceman, of course. Scenes of Julia's favorite movie shot in the Boston Public Garden, little movie called Ted 2. Scenes of my favorite local movie shot in there as well, Good Will Hunting, Robin Williams, Matt Damon. They had a chit chat one of the benches in there. He's a local guy, Matt Damon. He's from Cambridge. Harvard dropout. Bill Gates, Harvard dropout. Mark Zuckerberg, Harvard dropout. Can you imagine how successful those guys could have been had they just stayed in school? It's a lesson to all you kids. Alright, so this is a map of Boston from 1722. We picked you up at the New England Aquarium, then we went down here, went into the water, came back. Now we'd be somewhere in this general area here. So all water here back then. This is Boston today. All solid land now. So there's 450 acres in this part of the city. Seaport, anybody saying the seaport? About 1,000 acres of filled in land in the seaport, so that's all landfill as well. And so 1700s, we would have been right in the water right here. We would have been fine. We're on a dock. A lot of these other cars, though, would have been very sad. So we're going to take a left, and this is called Charles Street, this street right here, because the Charles River is a stop right on it. So basically the old beach is where Charles Street is now located. There's a potato famine in 1846 in Ireland. A lot of Irish started moving to the country, scaring out the wealth. A lot of the Protestants had the money back then. So basically a way to keep the money in the city, create the Back Bay. Basically works. Pretty much been a wealthy area since the 1860s. As a result, to live in the Back Bay, you're talking Tom Brady kind of money. He used to live there with his ex-wife Giselle Bundchen, but they can afford it. She made over $450 million as a supermodel, Giselle Bundchen. I should have done that. So that's a central burial ground over there. You got veterans buried over there, redcoats. Redcoats wounded after the Battle of Bunker Hill. They brought them back to Boston. They succumbed to their injuries. Now they lie on the central burial ground. Yeah, so Boston Common to the right, Boston Public Garden to the left. Charles Street named after the Charles River. So yeah, everything to our left man-made. We have any veterans on board? What branch? Marine Corps. Anybody else? Give it up. Very cool. Where are you visiting from? DC, alright, so you may notice these signatures above all veteran signatures. We'd be honored if you'd sign a room at some point. If you're like, alright, very cool. So look to our left, you can see the make way for duckling statues. This is mallards in the front, followed by jack, tack, lack, mac, oak, pack, and quack. Make way for duckling statues in front of the 3 benches. Those were sculpted by Nancy Schoen in 1987. 1930s art student by the name of Robert McCluskey, witnessed a police officer helping ducklings cross the street. Inspired by the children's book. So if you got a real estate app on your phone, you're curious of some of the numbers around here, now might be a time to check that on that. It's called Beacon Hill. These are all real gas lamps, beautiful doorways and entryways, red brick sidewalks. First man who ever lived here from England, William Blackstone, lived at number 50 here for about 10 years before he moved to Rhode Island, where Julia's from. Yeah, so number 50 there, that's a location, first guy to live here from England. Robert Frost used to live in the area. He was a poet. Louisa May Alcott. She wrote a book called Little Women. Uma Thurman used to live here. She killed Bill. So to our left you can see a purple window or two. There's one next to the door, another one above the flower box. These These purple windows date back to 1820. There's a shipment of glass that came here from Germany. Glass had too much manganese oxide in it. And when the sun hit the glass over time, it turned it purple. It's actually a status symbol to have a home on Beacon Hill with an original purple window. Yeah, it's actually illegal to put fake purple windows in your homes here. People tried that for a while. No bueno. Punishable by death. Just a fine. Next street up is Mount Vernon Street, the one that runs parallel to this. The inventor of cable television lives in one of them. His name's Amos Hofstadter. John F. Kennedy used to live on Beacon Hill. Statue coming up on our left of JFK. Photo op. 35th President of the United States. Senator from Massachusetts, also a veteran. One of 8 U.S. presidents who've had Harvard degrees. Red brick portion completed 1798 with the real gold dome on top. Coming up on the right is the Robert Gould Shaw Memorial. Robert Gould Shaw, he led the first all-black volunteer regiment to fight down South during the Civil War. Made popular in 1989, a film called Glory. To our left, a statue of Mary Dyer. She was a Quaker in a city full of Puritans. She's actually kicked out of the city twice for being a Quaker. Came back a third time, hanged for being a Quaker. In 1660 by the Puritans. Got a very cool firefighter memorial coming up on our left, behind the booth. Followed by the tall one. The tall one is our Revolutionary War Memorial. And the bald eagle, that actually represents where this hill used to be. It used to be about 60 feet higher all around us. And they leveled the top of this for landfill and building. Yeah, so this is free to go in if you're going to walk the Freedom Trail. Highly recommend going in the new State House. I mentioned that's gold, real gold, 13 pounds, 23 karat gold leaf on the gold dome. Every 30 or 40 years, whenever it needs to be fixed up, they put new gold on it. A guy named Lyman Beecher is a minister of this church to our left. Lyman Beecher is the father of Harriet Beecher Stowe. Harriet wrote an anti-slavery book. It was called Uncle Tom's Cabin. That was the first book in the United States, other than the Bible, will sell over 1 million copies. This is 1850s. I mentioned the gas lamps. This one, of course, is broken. But most of them burn for 24 hours a day. You used to have lamp lighters come. They'd light them in the evening. The city would put them out the next morning. Now, that got to be too expensive, so apparently letting them burn forever is cheaper. That's so Beacon. This is a couple weeks ago. Spot on Beacon Hill went for sale. $500,000 for one parking spot. Indoor parking, $500 grand. Humid. It's kind of humid, right? Am I the only one with a sweaty back on board? No? Okay, good. Any birthdays today? Are you celebrating anything? No, that's too bad. I was going to sing. Julia tells me I have the voice of an angel. Thank you. You're a doll. Anybody been on one of these before? A couple people? Where are you visiting from?
Illinois.
Illinois in the house, all right. Yeah, so you guys all know we're going in the water, right? All right, that's important. I don't want last minute freakouts like yesterday. You think the life has to be a dead giveaway? Or the fact that they're called duck boats. Not always the case. The building to our right, this was used in a movie called The Departed. This was a state trooper's barracks in that film. Martin Sheen, Alec Baldwin, Leonardo DiCaprio, of course, Mark Wahlberg. It's actually a state law. Mark Wahlberg has to be in every movie from Massachusetts. More brutalism style architecture. Jack Nicholson, he's from LA. A big Lakers fan, hates everything Boston. Wanted him to wear a Red Sox hat in the film. He outright refused because Whitey Bulger, that's who he's playing in the movie, always seen wearing a Red Sox hat. That's the Old West Church to our left. John F. Kennedy and Jacqueline Kennedy voted out of here for the presidency of the United States, the place you could vote 1950s and 60s, Old West Church. Yeah, so Martin Scorsese wanted to wear a Red Sox hat in the movie. He refused. He said, I'll play the part, I'm not going to wear a Red Sox hat. They said, all right, Mr. Nicholson, do whatever you want. There's one stipulation. Then Johnny Depp played Whitey Bulger in another movie called Black Mass, also filmed around here. These are all movies that you might want to wait till the kids are a little bit older to show. I don't think they film PG movies in Boston. So across the street there's a 3-floor red brick building with a gray garage door. If you've ever seen a documentary about James Whitey Bulger, chances are you've seen that building before. FBI had surveillance on this building for many years before he eventually escaped. And they eventually found him closer to Jack Nicholson. They found him in Santa Monica, California.